So we have this issue. Every time we sand parts for our projects, all surfaces get covered by a thin layer of wood dust. All of our tools, the CNC machine, and even the walls. And every time we are sanding, we have to use face masks just so we can breathe. So today we will use our plywood offcuts and the CNC router to build a downdraft sanding box. It will suck down most of the sanding dust when working on our upcoming projects. The first thing we have to do is to create the design. It's simple, since the downdraft sanding box is basically a sealed box with a pegboard panel on the top and a slope bottom panel. Since I don't want to use any sealer when building the box, I decided to make grooves on each side for the bottom panel. The grooves will minimize the airflow, therefore the leaks would also be minimal. Since I decided to use screws for securing the top panel in place, I also added some to the side components. The screws will ensure the box won't come apart after hours of using it. The design was ready. I took a couple of offcuts from the material stand and cut the components. Cutting 190 holes in the top panel took some time, but other than that, the CNC operations went quickly. However, there were two mistakes that I made. The first issue was with the top panel. Almost half of the hole cuts hadn't gone through the material. The good news was the material that was left was so thin that you could see the holes from the other side. So to fix this, I decided to use the countersink drill bit. Removing the excess material this way was easy, and it took less than 15 minutes. The second mistake was a tiny one, however it did affect the crafting process quite a bit. When preparing side components cutting files, I forgot to uncheck the stock to leave box, and after the CNC operations I noticed that the pockets in the side components were 1 mm narrower than the material thickness, so the components wouldn't fit together. To fix this issue, I had to use the router table we built in the first Aribabox workshop episode. The idea is to remove 0.5 mm from each side of the bottom panel and the side components' tenons. I did the cuts and tested if the joints would fit together, and they did. The project was ready for assembling, so as the first step I added the bottom panel to one of the side components. Then I could install smaller side panels at each end and add the longer side on the top. Before adding the screws to the box, I had to drill the pilot holes. Since the plywood I'm using is only 9 mm thick, I couldn't skip the pre-drilling. After the screws were in place, I could attach the top panel. It was fast and straightforward. After the box was assembled, I attached the vacuum hose at the side and did some test sanding. Of course, no downdraft sanding project is complete without throwing the sandpaper around to see if it would stick to the surface. And then we did a little bit of smoke testing. The downdraft sanding box worked fine. It would be more efficient if we attached it to a proper dust collection system, but this will be just fine for now. If you would like to build a downdraft sanding box for your workshop, the DXF files for this project is available at aribabox.com. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time.